We're there. Hi, everybody. Patty Moeller here. Welcome on this fabulous Friday afternoon. I am a host of Renew and Restore in the community of Convene Communities. You've heard me talk about that so many times. And within my community, which is called Renew and Restore, I do a lot of talking about positive things and things that we need to talk about. But there's also a flip side to being positive, and it's the toxic positivity. We're going to talk about that today. My friend here is Ellen Menendez. Hi, Ellen.
Hey, Patty.
Hey, thanks for joining me. So
Thanks
this
for having me join
podcast
us.
is because of you. And Ellen posted this great article this week on toxic positivity. And some people have read things that I've written about it. And Ellen, yours, really that story was so much about what the teachers are facing today. And I loved everything that article had to say. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what is toxic positivity. But one of my things I wanted to get together with you is from that perspective, from teachers. They're hurting, they're not being heard, but it's bigger. And for me, this is such a bigger topic. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, it's definitely not confined to just teachers. It is all over, and we're experiencing it all over. And I don't know, Patty, you may be more familiar with the term toxic positivity, but this was the first I've ever heard of it. So can you kind of let us know what exactly is it?
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's different than optimism, right? There's optimism and looking on the bright side and feeling good about things and always feeling hopeful. And then there's that other side to it that nobody can handle or doesn't want anyone to be hurt. And so it leaves this void. I wrote this down, so I want to read it because sometimes I just do a better job with reading. Here's my definition of toxic positivity. It's defined as the positivity as the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state across all situations. It's the process of toxic positivity results in the denial, minimalization, and the invalidation. That's the key, the invalidation of the authentic human being in an emotional experience. Big term, right?
Huge.
Yeah, huge term. So for me, it's just that person that can't always has to be positive, but doesn't realize the negative effect that it has on the recipient.
Yeah, that negative effect of not feeling heard, not being appreciated and acknowledged, and kind of feeling like maybe I can't have these negative feelings or feel down at the moment.
Yes. And we've gotten so to that place of that, be happy all the time and life's going to be fine. We don't know that. As a licensed mental health therapist, one of the things I constantly tell my clients is I do not have a crystal ball on my desk. And I can't tell you everything's going to be okay. There is nothing worse than saying to somebody, everything is going to be fine. Especially maybe somebody's dying or somebody's injured. We don't know that. Right. So when we say everything's going to be fine and then it turns out not to be fine, it's a terrible place to feel. And it's not, you used the word and I used it, it doesn't validate that somebody has a right to not having anything less than positive feelings. And that's not true about human beings.
Yeah, totally not true. And, I think I feel sometimes I want to be able to share how I'm feeling in the moment without feeling like I'm being judged.
Yes.
And, for what I'm feeling. Like, why are you saying that? You can't, you have no reason to be upset. You have no reason, to feel this way or feel like the world's going to end or whatever it is. And I don't feel that I can do that.
And in the moment, it is okay. I often have people as a licensed mental health therapist, and you're well on your way to being one and have done so much in this area. So I consider you a sister in this just because you don't have an initial yet at the back of your name. You sure have a bunch of initials in the back of your name that qualify you for this conversation. Not many people are even stopping to ask caretakers, teachers, firemen, policemen, how are you doing? I had lunch this afternoon and it was really interesting. It's the very first time since the pandemic, almost one of the very first times, where it was a very specific question where my friend Jean looked at me and said, so how are you doing? And it was not a, hey, how are you? It was a,
Right.
and it was like, I was kind of taken back. And I said, thank you for asking, because not many people are asking those of us on the front line and
Mhm.
mental health workers, social workers, firemen, teachers. You got this. Nobody can do it better than you. You're fine. Right. But I'm dealing with everything that you're dealing with. Teachers are dealing with everything that everyone's dealing with.
Right.
And then they're asked to step into the arena of which they know nothing of.
Mhm.
And it's tough.
It is tough. And I like how you just said that too. She stopped and asked you, how are you doing? It wasn't that passing or that
No.
fleeting, hey, how are you? You know, she just expects you to go, oh, I'm fine. Everything's great. You know, no, she really truly meant deep down,
Yeah.
how are you? I want to know, share that information with me.
And it was great because, I had really said, hey, you need a girls' time, get lunch. And she was like, something behind needing girls' time? I was like, yeah, I need girl time. And she laughed and she was like, oh, like there's really nothing wrong. And I was like, no, just need to laugh. And so that's when she was like, well, how are you? And
Mhm.
I don't think that we are stopping and really talking to nurses. I talked about this on another podcast with Matt and Convene Communities, that if you know a nurse, if you know a teacher, if you know a fireman, if you know a policeman, don't send them a text. Hope you're doing great, thinking about you. They're still missing the voices. They're
Oh, absolutely.
still missing the personal contact. And the toxic positivity comes maybe at the end of any one of the people I've met, and you're having a lousy day. Not a lousy day, it's just been a tough day.
Exactly. And acknowledging that toughness.
Yeah, come on, you've got this. And it's like, no, I just told you I don't have this. Right in this moment, it doesn't mean I'm a blithering idiot the rest of my time. But right now, I need to be okay to say, I had lousy clients today. They're really like off the chain, or, oh, I've had this happen and this happen. We're forgetting to stop and do that. And that's creating that bigger void, that disconnection that I always talk about with human beings.
Absolutely. And you brought a picture back to my mind. I have friends, of course, being in the teaching field for umpteen years, that are teachers, and they're saying, I'm really struggling, I'm really hurting. And I said, have you shared your concerns with administration? Yeah, they just, they're my cheerleader. Hey, you got this. Stay strong, keep
Yes.
forging ahead, don't look back, but they're like, I need to feel heard.
Well, tell them, I called you right after you said this. And
Yes, you
I was
did.
like, oh my God, we need to do a podcast, right? And you were like, oh yeah, I just talked to my friend, listen to this story. Please convey that story. Thought it was fabulous.
Sure. So, real quick, hold on. Want to make sure it's completely in, context here. Let me grab it. Wish I would have had it real quick. Where is it? Here it is. So it's just, literally like what I said. They said, told the principal, they were in a meeting, hey, I'm struggling. This is really hard. I'm having a tough time. And, the response really was, you've got this. Just stay strong. You're okay. And I was like, I'm not okay. I just said that. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. And, I need you to be here in where I am. Meet me where I am right now. And I think that's where it's hard for us, because we all have always heard, be, positive, be optimistic, say things to encourage others. And we're never told, no, listen, be in the moment with them.
Yeah.
Give them the space to share what they're feeling freely,
Right.
without trying to, hey, I just believe in you. You got this, which is great. Don't get me wrong. We all like that. We all like our cheerleaders, but there's
clearly
absolutely a time and a place to say, you know what, you're right. This is hard. This is a challenge. This is tough. We hear you. And it's that simple. I'm right here with you. You're not alone. There you go.
Yeah. And yet when we're going in, and I've heard the stories of teachers, I have a friend across the street and he's a teacher, and I said, how are you? And he knows that I don't ask just the, hey, how are you? It's the deeper, how are you? And he was very honest. He said, well, we're about to find out. And I said, oh, really? Tell me more. And he said, they're asking us to do X, X, and X now. And I was already on overload. And so if I don't stop and listen to that and go, oh, come on, you're the best teacher there is. There isn't anyone else that can handle that. I had to hear him that he's feeling the apprehension. It wasn't that he doubted that he could do it, but if I cheered him on, it's kind of like, did you not hear me?
Exactly.
I have 5 things on my plate and that's max, and you're about to put 9 on, and I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And so we need to listen.
Yeah, because like you're saying there, by not showing you're listening, those individuals feel like, okay, then I'm not free to express that feeling, which is then causing more turmoil inside of them and inside their bodies, because they can't freely share it. And I don't think that, I just wonder, is that something, I know that's something I didn't understand until I got into this field more in depth, that how much that really, without voicing it causes issues internally.
And let's talk about the issue that it causes.
Yes, please. Let's share that information.
It causes shame.
Yes.
And so I always like to try to help people also understand the difference between shame and guilt. They are sisters, they are cousins, but they are not the same thing.
Okay, so how are they different?
So guilt is when I do a behavior. I drop a glass of water and it's an accident and I feel terrible, and I had red grape juice in it and it got on the white couch and I'm feeling terrible and I feel guilty, and I help clean it up and I pay some money to help get it cleaned. And I feel guilty about that because I wasn't supposed to be over on the white couch with red grape juice. So I feel guilty about it. Okay. Take that same person, spills white or grape juice on a white couch. Oh my God, I can't do anything right. I'm such a bad human being. Everything I touch is a nightmare. I don't know why I came to the party. No, I don't even know why I get out of bed. I'm just not a good person. I don't know what my worth is. I am not good enough. And there's a huge difference.
Yeah, I've never heard of that rationale or explanation of those two. So now I'm really seeing that guilt is the behavior, the actual action.
Correct.
And then the shame is our internal, how we're internalizing that, what we're speaking to ourselves about that. That's interesting, Patty.
So when I can't tell you that I've had a lousy day, when I can't tell you I just feel really terrible, I broke up with my boyfriend, or that I'm going through a divorce, even if, let's just say it's the worst marriage of all time, but you're feeling sad, and maybe not because of leaving that person, but because you're getting out of a marriage and you're unhappy about that. If somebody doesn't understand that, if your support group just goes, but he was not a great guy, he was a terrible human being, you need to be happy about this. Wow. Can you not see that I got married so that I would be married for a lifetime? I don't care that he's not a great guy. I'm still sad. I'm still hurting. We still need to give people a space, a safe space, to be able to land. Because that shame piece in that same person could come up and be able to say, but I can't do anything right. Well, wait a minute. He was the bad person. Maybe he had affairs. Maybe he was doing other things. Maybe he left town and never came home. We don't know. But the person who has shame will take it as, if I had only done this, if I had only done this, if I was only good enough, that's shame. His actions are affecting her, or vice versa. I don't want to be sexist here, right? Because plenty have switched the other way. So it creates that sense of shame. So many people that I get in my office, Ellen, come and they'll sit down and they'll go, and I'll say, well, talk that particular scenario. How's that, what's that feel like for you? What do you mean feel like? I don't feel anything. And they literally don't, because since they were little, they might have come out of the don't cry at a baseball game, little boys don't cry, big girls put on big girl panties and march forward. So if we're constantly told that your feelings are invalid, you don't know what they are as an adult. And that creates shame. You're like, I can't believe I feel terrible about this. So I must be a terrible person. It just snowballs and snowballs.
And then it goes into their next relationships or their
Yep.
next friendships or, professional
Yeah.
roles, whatever it may be. And like you said, it just keeps snowballing with that. So how do you have to ask so we're having these conversations, we're telling people to listen, to be open. But how should they respond, I guess, in these situations?
That's a good one. And you and I kind of talked about this a little bit. I'm going to hit on one spot and then we're going to go there.
Sure.
I kind of want to slide this in right here because it's one of the things I said to you on the phone. And I don't know if you remember it, but I just remember you kind of going, huh? And it's one of those things, toxic positivity. We're talking about the person on the receiving end. The person that's doing the toxic positivity conversation, I want us to help people understand that person's not meaning, first of all, they're not meaning to be hurtful or mean. And we're not talking about the one-off, hey, you got this. We all need that. And we all need a pat on the back. So this is different. This is a person who chronically does it, can never see it. It's important to look at that person and understand they can't handle negative emotion.
That was huge when you said that to me.
Can't handle your pain, and they certainly can't handle that they care for you or love you, and they're going to have to get in the trenches with you, is what you said. They're going to have to meet you. There's no way they can do that. Mm-hmm. And yet it makes the other person feel terrible. And this person just gets to keep feeling positive, but there is no feeling about it.
Right.
They don't know their own feelings. They're not allowing themselves to feel themselves. And it's too scary for them, so they won't go there.
So how would someone, if they recognize this in themselves, that maybe they're doing that, what would they need to help them be able to be in that moment with that person? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm always about awareness. We have to become aware. Like next time you're saying to somebody, hey, you got this, be happy, just stop and go, do I need to meet them? We got to be a little bit more aware. If you're in a relationship where somebody's just always positive and can't see the negative, it's to slow that down. And maybe you do need a therapist to help somebody see that. And where did it start and why did they do it? What are they experiencing? So it's a little bigger than that. I think the simple pat on the back, hopefully we've, are making people more aware of how to slow down and really listen to somebody. A chronic person who has probably some emotional baggage included in this, which is why it's called toxic positivity, is probably somebody that needs some extra help to identify what that is, what it means, because they don't have a clue. So just telling somebody, stop being so positive, that's not going to help that person either. It's a deeper dive. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. It's not a simple fix. And yet where you were headed, I think there's some things I sent you we talked about it today. Let's see if we can switch some language, because you know me, I'm always about language, and language changes everything. So let's shoot some. We both said that we would think of some toxic positivity things in the last couple of days and see if we can switch the language. So you ready for my game? I feel like we're on a game show now.
Yeah, let's do a game show. I love it.
All right, let's do the clean up the toxic positivity game show.
Create our own game show.
Right? Yeah. Hey, we'll just start something new. Convene communities. We got game shows now. Like, hey, this is awesome. So if I came up to you and I said, hey, don't think about it, just stay positive. What do you think might be something that might be really good for you to kind of come back and say?
As a response to you, or as a way to change that?
Yeah, way to change it. That's a good question though. Yeah, we could
So
we
if
could play that
somebody,
game later.
so if you feel like they are, you see someone hurting, and that's your initial response. Hey, just be positive. Don't think about it. Maybe something like, describe what you're feeling to me. I'm here to listen.
I love that. What a great word. Describe what you're feeling. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great one. Yeah, because and that, that's one I also often ask my clients in the office to describe it. And that's when I know there's an issue when they go,
Hold on. How do I
no.
describe it? What are you talking about? Describe
Yeah.
it.
And then I try to get them to the next stage, right? Not only describe it, but I want them to know where they feel it in their body. We all feel every emotion in our body. And when we get really in tune, we can know, I know when this little thing on that, there's a little tingle on the edge of my nose is when I'm super excited about something. And it's kind of like I can't, yeah, it's really weird.
That is.
Yeah, it's just a little tingle, and if it's really exciting, I need to kind of do that. It has nothing to do with my nose, but it's tingling, so it's funny. Every one of us has something in our body that aligns to every emotion, whether it's anxiety, joy, happiness, anger. We all feel it somewhere.
So if they can describe it and just sit and listen and be willing to hear someone,
Yeah,
be
I
totally
love
good.
that. All right, what do you got? What do you got for me? Let me see if I can do it.
You know what? I hear this one quite often. Positive vibes only, positive vibes in this area.
Oh, positive vibes. Hmm. I think mine would be, I'm okay with if you're not feeling it all right now. Right now I'm hurting a little bit. So right now I'm struggling to be positive. I'm upbeat, but right now I'm really positive and upbeat, but I can see that you're not feeling it right now. Can you tell me what's going on with you? Because I can tell that you're not feeling kind of your normal perky self.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one.
Well, I think it's about stepping into those shoes and allowing somebody to, hey, you're normally so happy and so good, but I'm noticing you're not doing that right now, versus saying, yeah, get rid of that. And nobody likes a Debbie Downer, and I hope everybody out there in our audience knows that we're not talking about that just single one-off person that's having a lousy day. We're talking about people that just cannot ever, ever see the where you are, see, hear, and validate you.
I I just I love it.
Another good one for that one is, I'm here with you.
Mm,
I'm here with you, and however you feel is fine by me.
that is a good one. And that really hopefully allows that person to open up. I would want to open up and share how I was feeling at that point, you know? And I know I do youth mental health first aid quite
Yeah,
frequently. And one of the terms we really talk about is just simply the simple statement of, you're not alone. And that's just
right.
like what you just said. You're not alone. I'm right here with you.
And I think another one, and we'll go back because you and I have done a lot of work with around suicide prevention, and you are such a member of, American Foundation. I always get that wrong.
You
Um,
could, for suicide prevention. You got
for
it.
suicide prevention. Sorry about that. But I think that's one of those things too. It's how important is this? You matter to me.
Absolutely.
So if you matter to me, then I need to see you in 3D, which has everything. It's okay if you're down. And a lot of times people, Ellen, will go, it's okay if you're down, but it's, you need to da, 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 da. And you're like, okay, if it's okay if I'm down, why can't I talk about being down? That's when you can truly understand that somebody on the other end isn't prepared to hear what you're going through.
Yeah.
All right, I got one.
Okay.
Here
Let's
you
try.
go. Failure is not an option. Ouch. We don't think that of toxic positivity, do we? I mean, that's one when I thought about it, failure's not an option. How many times have I said to that to myself, starting a business, or failure's not an option? There's a lot of truth to that. I can't deny that, everybody. I've said it a million times, probably to my kids, probably to myself. What might be something else, Ellen, that we could say?
Oh, because when we talk about failure, I immediately reflect back on quizzes and assignments that I've done, especially in grad school. Even though I'm learning lots of information, what I find really sticks with me is when I do get something incorrect or I do get something wrong and the correct is pointed out to me, that sticks with me. And it's not that I'm a failure, but it's allowing me to grow and learn from that experience. Where when I do it all right, I notice it doesn't stick as well.
Yeah.
So those little corrections actually help you grow and build success at the same time. So I don't know, maybe something along the lines of failure is part of growth. Failure is part of building success. I mean, I can't think off the top of my head. I'm sure you can for some reason, because I'm just not, but how many successful people failed first? Thomas Edison, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay, see, there I go. Thomas Edison, one of the greats, but he failed multiple times before he was successful.
Right.
And do we ever consider him as a failure?
Right.
No, absolutely not. He's, one of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
But it's because, he kept trying. It's okay that I failed. It's okay I didn't do so well, but I learned from those mistakes or, whatever I did in order to help me grow and be successful in the end. So really, it's what are you going to do with it?
Right. Yeah, I love that. All these people were running through my head. I can think of the Michael Jordan quotes about.
He didn't even make the basketball team in high school.
Right? I mean,
greatest
of all these people. Yeah. I use a Rife machine, and Dr. Rife is a scientist in the 30s and 40s who created a machine that he believed could solve a lot of diseases and issues. And the FDA got a hold and a wind. It's a great story. And the FDA came actually in and destroyed it. And, to me, I'd be like, oh, dang. Well, if you read his story, it's awesome because he's like, oh, this is great because it's in my head. Like they couldn't steal that. It's in my head and I'll make it better. So he could have just gone, okay, well, that's it. I'm not going to deal with that. So, all these people were running through my head when you said that. So yeah, that's interesting.
See, there you go.
Yeah. That's interesting. Let's see. Let me think of one. Oh, yeah. How about, did you already say this? Delete negativity?
Not delete negativity. I said positive vibes only, but yeah, there is some delete negativity.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting one.
Yeah. Because that one's kind of tough. What would we say instead of that? Like let's come up with that, because you and I came up with the toxic ones. I
don't know, because that one's going to be a little bit harder for me, because delete negativity, that never even crosses my mind to think to say to someone, or
Yeah, I think I've heard it, and again, yeah, I agree. I think this one is the one of that you need to not be alone, that people feel alone. And I think people often feel so alone when they have any other feeling other than it feels like you're going against the grain. And so if you put out there and put out something that feels really negative, I think it's to be able to tell somebody you're not alone in this. Again, that's another one that I think is just so important, just to be able to say, you're not alone. We all don't feel positive. What I do with my clients, Ellen, people that really struggle with their emotions throughout the day, more on the depression end, is I have them scale on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 times a day. Scale 1 to 5, I feel amazing. It's awesome. 0, can't get out of bed. And so when they wake up, how do they feel? They just scale it. Mid-morning, scale it. Lunch, scale it. Mid-afternoon, scale it. Dinner, scale it. And what they usually find is there'll be a pattern. Some people will find that they have a lull in the day every single day, and that's a good thing to learn. The other thing it is it helps people realize that we ebb and flow. I can be full of joy and happiness 1 minute, and then I'm tanked for an hour or two. That's also normal for people. I think people look at people that are usually happy people and think, oh my God, they're like that all the time. And so when that person does have a bad day, they're not allowed to have that. You don't get to feel this way. You're a positive person.
Right.
Where's the positive Patty today? In the tank.
And that's completely normal. That's completely
okay.
acceptable. Yeah. And you know, that's acceptable to have times like that, to have days like that. There's nothing wrong with that. And like you said, I'm right here for you. I'm here to support you in that.
One of the things too, I think that we're sliding into, and I'm trying to mind the time as well, is making sure, Ellen, that some of these things that we're talking about, when somebody's not allowed, when they're not validated, this actually runs into some real physical issues. And people don't ever stop and think about that. When you're never allowed, when you're only allowed to have happy emotions, for me, sometimes it feels like the volcano. It builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, and you try to stay in that place. And because you weren't letting it out a little bit at a time, it just erupts, and you just either have, huge, horrible day. Maybe you scream and yell. Maybe you're just are so depressed you can't get out of bed. But that's because we've not allowed people to have a safe space to be okay with every emotion that they have. And that creates for people physical symptoms, migraine headaches, can't swallow, stomach issues, feet issues, replacement of joints, eyes that aren't going on, ringing in the ears. And so I think oftentimes I'm paying far more attention now in my office to somatic, physical reasons, when somebody will come to me and say, they can't find anything wrong with me. There's not a physical thing wrong with me, but I have this pain here, I have migraines, or I have this. I'll really go back and look at, do they have a space that they can emote safely, and are they being heard by others? If you take somebody that's been in not a healthy marriage for 25 years and there's all these somatic issues, one of the things that I will really truly look at is the emotionality behind that, and letting some of those expressions or those feelings come true that have just had to been suppressed. And when we do what I call stacking and stuffing, it goes somewhere. And bad emotions will find the one place, the weak link in your body, and go there. Hence, I work with heart recipient patients, right? Or people with, like I said, headaches. A number of issues.
I find that just amazing how you said that. They find that weak link in your body and kind of, set up space there. That's their little home to grow and expand, and it's annoying you and agitating you. And that's what it is. It's breeding.
Yeah.
And, it's just causing more and more.
When I worked at St. Vincent's and worked with the heart patients, it was really fascinating. One of the things that we did in the Ornish Heart Reversal group is a part of that program is mental health counseling. And my piece in that was to try to find out what was the emotion, behind that. And it was amazing how many people, always gave advice versus just listening. So one of the things in the group was you couldn't give anybody advice.
Oh, that's hard for some.
Oh my. Oh my. But what they did learn is to stop and really listen to each other. And as you said, to meet them in the moment. And so if somebody came in and said, oh, my sister's getting divorced and we haven't talked in a few years, there's always somebody who wants to chime in and go, well, you should do this and you should do that.
Oh,
And
hold
now,
on. You're saying the should word.
well, there, yeah. Look at you picking up on the should word.
The should word.
And the should word is a shame word. So it goes back to our shame. See, I can
That's
tie
interesting.
this stuff back in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know I try to, convey that when I do youth mental health first aid, because, the whole thing is to listen, give information,
Yeah.
And reassurance, but don't give advice.
Yeah.
And I connect that to that should. Don't tell someone, oh, well, you should go do this or you should do that. I said,
Right.
how many times do y'all like being told you should do something?
Yeah.
Usually none of us really like
No.
that should.
Remember, it comes with the shaming finger. One of
Oh,
the
see,
right,
I like it.
finger. It got the shaming finger. I never knew it was named that. It got named a couple of years ago. It's the shaming finger because somebody went, you should make your bed. You should get better grades. You should, whether it's a teacher or a parent. I'm guilty. I'm sure I did that. But when we hear that, when we hear the should word, that it feels like we have the finger in our face.
So, Patty, let me ask you this. What are some effective ways for somebody to maybe express those pent up emotions or stress what they're feeling? How would they do that? Even if they're in a space where, they feel like someone doesn't listen to them maybe, or not acknowledging what they're feeling, what would be a good way for them to let go with that?
Yeah, it goes back to learning that I language. It's the same things I talk about so much on any of these podcasts, but learning how to say how I feel. I feel, and my sentence is, I feel blank about blank. I feel frustrated, the dishes weren't done. I'm angry, we didn't follow through and go to dinner last night. I never accuse anybody, but I learned to hear my own voice. When I do that myself, I try to come up with at least two emotions that I might be feeling. What am I feeling? I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated. And versus coming from the point of, you could have taken me to dinner last night. Well, that just puts somebody on the defensive. And so when I learned to say, I was really hurt when we didn't go to dinner last night, it's pretty hard to look at me and say, well, you're wrong about that. Not really. They're my feelings. So first we have to be aware of our feelings. I think I language separates us tremendously when we come from the place of how we feel. People take us more seriously. Nobody wants to be hurt. If I said to somebody, I'm just hurt, that I haven't heard from you in a long time. I'm just really hurt we didn't go to dinner. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I just was so busy. And yeah, it slipped my mind. We get a different, now I have connection. And connection is the key, because this is the next point of toxic positivity. It makes you feel isolated, like you've done something wrong. That goes back to shame. But it also goes back to not being believed or having a safe place to be exactly who you are, authentic. And authentic human beings have every emotion.
Yes. A wide gamut. I mean, happy, sad, mad, frustrated, all of it. And we all feel it from time to time, and we have to acknowledge that. We're all going to feel different ways at different times.
And you and I've done, again, a lot of work with a lot of people that have either, had loved ones die by suicide. And one of the things they always talk about, right, is their hearts are broken. And people can also feel very guilty, whether it's a death of somebody. Addiction's a great example of this, is people feel guilty. We have to figure out if it's shame, but they feel guilty when they're smiling and laughing when something also tragically has happened. And part of that piece that we need to help people understand is the heart is capable of both love and laughter. and tears and sadness and anger.
Yep.
It's
All at one time.
all at one time.
Mhm.
And that's such a big piece to that, to understand. And that's why that toxic positivity allows somebody to not be okay. Ask them what they need. This is my favorite question. What do you need? What can I do for you?
Yeah. And sometimes we don't even know what we need
Right.
or what you can do for us. So sometimes it's just taking that action and doing what you feel could be most beneficial for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know when my dad passed away, I had no idea what we needed. I didn't know, but I had a friend, two friends that just swept, they just came right in
Yeah.
and they took care of things behind the scenes. And I look back and I'm like, wow, we didn't know we needed that. We didn't know that needed to be done, but they, just Johnny on the spot. And it was just
Yeah.
so helpful when there was no asking, what do you need? What can we do
Right.
for you? They just did it.
Did.
Mhm.
And this whole thing about toxic positivity, and we'll probably be able to wrap this up. It's been a fabulous conversation. This is about a relationship with yourself. Once you learn to have a good, positive relationship with yourself, you can have that relationship with others. But if you're honest with yourself, you allow yourself to have all of your emotions. You allow yourself to be not so happy one day, to be dancing on a table one day, because that's how you feel. It's to be able to express every emotion that you possibly have, and to give that compassion when you're not feeling that great. I also encourage, if you know yourself really well, you have to know who to be around that will accept the fact that you're just not doing so great today. But I also think the relationship with knowing yourself allows you to see and feel and hear things in others. But we can't have awareness in others if we don't have it for ourselves.
And we hear that so many times about love. We can't love others until we
Yeah.
truly love ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's all intermingled there together.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day that's a psychologist, and I said, I feel like the more information I get through my degree, the more I'm like, this should be how we are all just
Right.
interacting with each other all the time. This shouldn't be a special training or special, counseling degree for this. This is honestly just the way, from the very beginning, since if we're teeny tiny little babies and brought up, should just be our normal everyday language.
Agreed. And yet we haven't done that right. And I think, we've changed. I think generations ago definitely did that. Again, I go back, we had a lot more family time. Families weren't spread around the country. And it's learning, as I tell my clients that have small children, when the small child just wigs out in the store and is having a temper tantrum because they can't have goldfish at that particular moment, it's not to explain it then, but it's afterwards, it's later, maybe it's bedtime, that they sit down and say, hey, when you flailed around in the store, that's actually called frustration and anger. And it feels that way, and you don't have a voice yet to express it. So you do that, you're wigging out.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody stops to teach that child what that was. So that's an emotion that gets, and if you got in trouble for wailing in the store, right? The only thing that is reminded of or remembered by that child is it's not okay to feel anger and frustration. And yet they don't have words for anger and frustration. That's how this all
Right.
starts. So we need
Exactly.
to do a better job of educating all of our children and our grandchildren about how it's okay to cry when you don't, when get out in baseball. They're bummed out. They're frustrated. They're embarrassed. Okay, so there's some tears. They're not
Exactly.
going to be doing that more than likely at 15 and 16. They grow out of it. But so we do have to tune into that.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I hope that everybody out there that's listened, and we'll repost this in convene communities, we'll make this an experience and people can come in and talk about it. But remember, right, Ellen, let's listen to one another.
I think that's the biggest thing we wanted to really get out there today.
Yes.
Not so much what you can say differently or how it affects or anything. It just sit down and have a true conversation and just listen.
Yeah. And check in. The pandemic, if it's not told us or taught us anything, it is to really check in with one another, and not kind of throw out things like they've got this. Let them have a space. You might be the only person that really hears them, that they were struggling today. We have people on the front lines. We'll say them again. They are our teachers. They are our mental health counselors. They are our psychiatrists. They are our nurses. They are, for heaven's sake, our doctors and our firefighters. On our teachers. Did I start with that? I don't know
I
where
think so, but that's okay. We'll take a double dip.
Yeah, we'll take a double one. So tune in, talk to these people, reach out, tune in. If you have any questions for either Ellen or myself, please reach out, talk to us. We're happy to hear you. And Ellen, thanks for putting this all together. Glad to be here.
Thanks so much for, starting this.
Yeah,
More conversations hopefully to come.